Good morning, girls, and welcome to today's English literature class on My Greatest Olympic Prize by Jesse Owens. Do open your textbooks to page 103 and get ready for the lesson. My Greatest Olympic Prize, a personal account of Jesse Owens concerning the Summer Olympics of 1936 is a deeply engaging story about sportsmanship and the power of human connection which rises above the narrow constraints of race and nationality. One of the most successful athletes in Olympic history, Jesse Owens was a person of color who had to overcome a great deal of racism throughout his life. His father was a sharecropper and his grandfather had been a slave. Consequently, he had to deal with generational discrimination based on color, as is reflected in his account. Owens recounts that he had disciplined himself for 6 years, that is, trained himself, and wasn't worried about what Hitler had to say about his race. He had set a world record of 26 feet 8 by 14 inches as a sophomore at Ohio State University, and everybody expected Owens to win. However, as the game approaches, he is astonished to see a German named Lars Long hit the pit at almost 20 feet on his practice leaps. Owens is later told that Hitler had kept Long under wraps, hoping him to win. I'm sure all of you have heard of the name Adolf Hitler, but in case you are unsure of why he is remembered in history, let us discuss a little bit about who he was. Adolf Hitler, born on 20th April 1889 and died on 30th April 1945, was a German politician and leader of the Nazi Party. He rose to power as the Chancellor of Germany in 1933 and then as Führer in 1934. During his dictatorship from 1933 to 1945, he initiated World War II in Europe by invading Poland on 1st September 1939. He was closely involved in military operations throughout the war and was central to the perpetration of the Holocaust. Under Hitler's leadership and racially motivated ideology, the Nazi regime was responsible for the genocide of about 6 million Jews and millions of other victims, whom he and his followers deemed subhuman or socially undesirable. Hitler and the Nazi regime were all responsible for the killing of an estimated 19.3 million civilians and prisoners of war. Hitler's actions and Nazi ideology are almost universally regarded as gravely immoral. Many say that never in history has such ruination, physical and moral, been associated with the name of one man. So you need not know everything about Adolf Hitler, but understanding who he was, what his ideology was, how he believed in the superiority of the Aryan race, will help you understand this story a little better and help you understand what Jesse Owens went through during that 1936 Berlin Olympics, where he was trying to do his best. He wasn't trying to do his best just to show that he was a great athlete, but being a person of color, he wanted to show that the lives of people like him, people of color, did matter. And isn't that something which is very, very relevant in today's times as well? I'm sure you have heard of the Black Lives Matter movement, which has started and has become so very powerful today. Do open your textbooks to page 103 and let us read the introduction given prior to the account written by Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens, the son of a sharecropper and grandson of a slave, achieved what no Olympian before him had managed to accomplish. His stunning achievement of 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin had made him the best remembered athlete in Olympic history. The following is a true story of a friendship between two great athletes that burgeoned during the 1936 Berlin Summer Olympics. Hitler had spread the myth that one ethnic group was superior to all others and refused to acknowledge that a black man could ever be successful. This affected African American track and field athlete Jesse Owens so badly that he almost failed to qualify for the long jump finals. The situation seemed hopeless until his rival Long, a German athlete, spoke to him encouragingly, giving Owens a tip that helped him qualify. Long knew that if Owens succeeded, it might jeopardize his chances of winning the gold medal since they were competing against each other. Nevertheless, Long put winning a medal at risk and continued to urge Owens to try harder. It was this act of Long that led Owens to first qualify, then go on to win the medal and set a record. His stunning achievement of 4 gold medals at the 1936 Olympic Games in Berlin has made him the best remembered athlete in Olympic history. More importantly, it led to a lifelong friendship between the two men, who, which ended only when Long was killed in action in World War II. More than anything, you need to remember that this account not only provides a glimpse of the political climate before World War II through a personal experience, it also gives us very important lessons on race, friendship, sportsmanship, discipline, and above all, the power of human touch. To help you understand what a massive event the Summer Olympics of 1936 was, I have put in here an image so that you can see exactly how many people attended this large scale event. Do open your textbooks to page 104 and do follow as I am reading and explaining this very interesting story by Jesse Owens. My Greatest Olympic Prize by Jesse Owens. It was the summer of 1936. The Olympic Games were being held in Berlin because Hitler childishly insisted that his performers were members of a master race. Nationalistic feelings were at an all time high. So, right from the first paragraph of the story itself, we are given an insight into the political climate of that time. The year was 1936. It was summertime. Berlin, please note, is the capital of Germany. Hitler is Adolf Hitler, and he rather childishly insisted that his performers were members of a master or a superior race. Nationalistic comes obviously from the word nationalism, which is an ideology and movement that promotes the interest of a particular nation, as in a particular group of people. Hitler believed that the Aryan race were much superior to everybody else, and nationalistic feelings were at an all time high. So, this was the political climate in 1936. I wasn't too worried about all this. So, this is Jesse Owens as the narrator of the story. He says he wasn't worried too much about all of this. I'd trained, sweated, and disciplined myself for 6 years with the games in mind. So, Jesse Owens had trained and prepared himself for 6 years, keeping these Olympic Games in mind. While I was going over on the boat, all I could think about was taking home one or two of those gold medals. So Jesse Owens had trained very, very hard for this sporting Olympic event, and all he could think about was taking home at least one or two of those gold medals. I had my eye especially on the running broad jump. A year before, as a sophomore at Ohio State University, I'd set the world's record of 26 feet 8 and 1/4 inches. Everyone kind of expected me to win that Olympic event, hands down. So, based on Jesse Owens' account, we can understand that he was obviously a very, very superior athlete. He was confident in his own abilities, and it's not that he took his abilities for granted, because we see that he trained, sweated, and disciplined himself continuously so that he could do his best at the Olympics. I was in for a surprise. When the time came for the broad jump trials, I was startled to see a tall boy hitting the pit at almost 26 feet on his practice leaps. He turned out to be a German named Lars Long. I was told that Hitler had kept him under wraps, evidently hoping to win the long jump with him. I guessed that if Long won, it would add some new support to the Nazis. Aryan superiority theory. After all, I am a Negro. Please underline these lines where he says that he is a Negro. A little hot under the collar about Hitler's ways, I determined to go out there and really show dear Führer and his master race who was superior and who was not. So at that time, Hitler propagated the idea that the Aryans were superior and that everyone else was subhuman. And this, of course, did not sit well with people like Jesse Owens. Jesse Owens was an African American, and he was most definitely affected by Hitler's ideas that a black man could never be successful. Hitler had spread that myth that one ethnic group was superior to all others and refused to ever acknowledge that a black man, whether it was Jesse Owens or whether it was anyone else, could at all be successful and accomplish anything. We have already discussed the great achievements of Jesse Owens, but now let us take a look at what Lance Long had achieved during his sporting career. Long, born on 27th April 1913 and died on 14th July 1943, was a German Olympic long jumper notable for winning the silver medal in the event at the 1936 Summer Olympics in Berlin and for giving technical advice to his competitor Jesse Owens, who went on to win the gold medal for the long jump. Long won the German long jump championship 6 times in 1933, 1934, 1936, 1937, 1938, and 1939. In this story, Long is a competitor in the sporting event to Jesse Owens. And despite the fact that he is a competitor, you will see that he helps, supports, and gives advice to Owens, even at the cost of it affecting him getting a medal himself. In the last paragraph of page 104, Owen says, an angry athlete is an athlete who will make mistakes, as any coach will tell you. So, why do you think Jesse Owens was angry? Naturally, Owens was very angry because of what Hitler stood for the thoughts he propagated, that his race was superior and that all other races were subhuman. And according to his belief, a black man could never be successful. So naturally, thoughts like this, beliefs like this, which was so very common in that political climate, was something that would naturally affect a thinking person like Owens. On the first of my 3 qualifying jumps, I leaped from several inches beyond the takeoff board for a foul. On the second jump, I fouled even worse. Did I come 3,000 miles for this? I thought bitterly. To foul out of the trials and make a fool of myself? So, in his qualifying jumps, instead of putting his best foot forward and doing the best that he could, unfortunately, because he was so very angry, Owens was unable to perform to the best of his ability. And since he was unable to perform something that would have naturally come very easy to him, he was all the more angry at himself. He thought to himself, did he come so far to put on such a terrible show before so many people and to make a fool of himself just in the trials? With this, we come to the end of today's lesson on my greatest Olympic prize. Do read the portion till where we have covered today, and we will continue in our next class.